I remember you being, fighting with me and calling me Sangi and right winger, and you've given me lots of names which I would not like to discuss here. What changed you?
I don't think I changed. I think, let's just say I opened my eyes to some ground realities, which clearly I was not seeing before.
तेरे स्टेट का रेप, मेरे स्टेट का रेप, तेरा वाला विक्टिम, मेरे वाला विक्टिम, मेरा रेपिस्ट, तेरा रेपिस्ट, किस स्टेट में इलेक्शंस हैं उसके अकॉर्डिंग इसके ऊपर बात करेंगे, किस कम्युनिटी ने किया है, वो कौन से रिलीजन को बिलोंग करता है, ये सब ज़्यादा हो गया है.
Rape is just one more thing for them. Now, if it's an upper class woman, if it's a lower class woman, it's an upper caste person, a lower caste person, if it's a different faith, everything is decided in this secular country.
Yeah. मास एनालॉजी सीजन 2 में आपका स्वागत है. नमस्कार, गुड आफ्टरनून, गुड मॉर्निंग, गुड इवनिंग, वट एवर जिस टाइम भी आप ये देख रहे हैं. एंड आज हम बात करने जा रहे हैं दो ऐसे व्यक्ति से जिनको मैंने उनकी जर्नी देखी है फ्रॉम बीइंग लिबरल टू राइट विंगर. अब उस जर्नी में इनके साथ क्या हुआ, यानी क्या सोचते हैं, पूरे वर्ल्ड भर में क्या एनवायरनमेंट है, उसके बारे में क्या सोचते हैं, व्हाट वर द फैक्टर्स दैट इन्फ्लुएंस्ड देम एंड देन चेंज देम. तो आज हमारे साथ हैं शालिनी बहल एंड नंदिनी भारी ढांडा. दोनों के बारे में मैं आपको थोड़ा बहुत बताऊंगी. शालिनी बहल इज द साइलेंट मार्क. शी इज द एडवर्टाइजिंग ब्रेन अमंग अस एंड आई हैव क्लोजली वॉच्ड हर journey. From very close proximity, I watched from journey from being liberal to a beautiful right winger. Well, Nandini, you all know Nandini, you all love her, you all follow her. But you don't know what made Nandini what she is today. So let's understand her journey too. So let's start and let's talk to her. Hi, Shalini.
Hi, Payal. Hi.
Shalini, you tell me what happened to you. Like, what influenced you? What changed you? What happened in your life that I remember you being, fighting with me and calling me Sangi and right winger, and you've given me lots of names which I would not like to discuss here. And you always used to say, "तू तो मोदी भक्त है," फिर ये शुरू हो गई और ये करके. But what changed you?
Okay, so I, number one, don't think that a right-winger and a liberal are necessarily antonyms, I think that it's very possible to be both. In fact, I think it's quite natural to be both, Right-wing, okay, possibly is a slightly more maybe ideological or political. Liberalism, I think, is highly misunderstood. As is, I think, a lot of the right-wing whatever. Now, I don't think I changed, clearly. I don't think I changed. I think... let's just say I opened my eyes to some ground realities, which clearly I was not seeing before. And a lot of people, I think, go through that, When you're young, you're still wearing those little rose-tinted, glasses, and you like to see everything the way it is shown. And once you get a little bit more into it, some of the facades come tumbling down and, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, I don't think I changed. I think maybe I... saw things for what they were, saw people for what they were, got a little bit more interested in politics, tried to understand. I don't think anybody really understands as well as we hope or we think we can. And yeah, I think it was a journey, a little bit of self-discovery, Yeah.
Yeah, Nandini.
My journey is probably the same as Shalini's. It's first of all, right wing is not a definition which even I go by. I was always...
It's an ideology.
Yes, but I think for me, it's also been a journey of self-discovery. For me, it's been understanding more about myself and about where I come from, who I am, and then taking an interest in seeing how things actually are in the world. So I think the journey has been the same, that, and it's not been one single step that brings you closer. It's a step-by-step way of looking at things, questioning things, understanding it, that made me come to who I am today.
But you think these feelings were lying dormant somewhere in your heart and it's come out? Something triggered it.
Always a nationalist, what people say so derisively now, where I was always a nationalist. I was Indian.
Maybe you come from the army background.
Maybe, absolutely. Not maybe, yes, absolutely. I was always an Indian. And I take how the army practices secularism as, the gold standard, how it is done. That it is, everybody is the same, is treated the same. You celebrate each other's festivals, and there is no snarkiness. It is really the way it should be. When I stepped out into the world, I realized that no, there is a very weird definition of secularism, which is very uniquely Indian, which is that it means pandering to one and ignoring the other. Now, that's where I realized, no, there is something seriously wrong about this. And the more I read about it, heard people speak, and I think that one turning point where I crossed the bridge was when Manmohan Singh said that the first right to resources is, belongs to the minorities. And I thought, really? I would have said first right to resources belong to the Indians first, And that's where I thought, okay, I need to know more. Maybe I'm not living in the real world.
And Shalini, with you?
So again, same, I'm amazed. So sometimes I wonder what, like you asked, what makes me lean right? I mean, I'm not particularly religious. My upbringing is not an army background. I was, very, so again, because I identify so strongly as an Indian, I don't know why. So that's sometimes I ask myself, my parents weren't particularly patriotic, nor did they, or even if they were, they didn't articulate it, we never spoke about politics, nothing. So the thing that makes me right is nationalism. And again, it's again a highly abused kind of, word, that hyper nationalism and jingoism and all of that. So for me, nationalism is all about self-interest. And you know what? If you're not nationalistic, maybe you should be. Because if your country does well, you do well, your kids do well, it's all about self-interest. It's not about just a flag or an anthem or something. I think it clearly appeals to my self-interest. It appeals to my survival instinct, So I think nationalism is the only way to be. That doesn't mean you don't care about the rest of the world. It just means that you should put your interest,
Your country comes first.
Yeah, well, there is something called idealism where we say, all ta and all of that, which is fabulous. And then you see beyond that, the world is not fair. The world is not an equal place. People are not equal. People are not, empathy and humanitarian. These are just oft-used words. I don't know how often I've probably met two people, and I've met a lot of people. If you ask me how many of them have a lot of empathy, I can only name two people, that also with a bit of difficulty. So yeah, I think that is again a similar thing, when I really introspect that what makes me right. And, it certainly was nothing to do with politics, but something rather, something quite deep and inner. Again, like her turning point was Manmohan Singh saying whatever. I think what my turning point was, when we were in Kashmir and the television was going on, and Bahl, of course, was a lot more into politics, and I was, quite happily ignorant and, whatever. And she was listening to this speech. I think it was Mufti, or who was it? One of the, who's that lady? Mufti. And I could not believe what I was hearing. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, is she actually saying what she is saying? So that was a bit of an eye-opener, So we all have our
that
little...
and another thing was that it was 14th of August.
No, that was a personal... So yes, sure.
Yeah, but 14th August, which even changed me a lot. Like I was 50% secular, and you can call me secular that time. Like 50% I was secular. It was 14th of August and 12 बजे जब 15th August होने का टाइम आया, तो हमने जन गण मन चलाया. तो हम जिनके साथ बैठे थे, ही सेड अभी रुको. तो पहले उन्होंने पाकिस्तान का नेशनल एंथम चलाया. And that her husband, myself, we looked at each other and we were so uncomfortable. And that was also a turning point, and we kept discussing that, and we were like not in a good mood after that. Mm-hmm. Though we stayed there for another 3-4 days, but that something was missing. That excitement, that zeal was missing. Something happened to us that changed us a lot. Yeah.
I've lived in Kashmir for many, many years, and this has been a very natural way of life there. So it's... it
was our first experience.
Yes. So that having that at the back of your mind, having the fact that I remember once going to when I recently got married and my husband's family was in Punjab, and we said, oh, take the new bride to Punjab. And somebody said, no, they're pulling out Hindus from the buses and shooting them. And for the first time I thought, oh, that's me. They're going to pull me out. And so this awareness that we were different was started seeping in the 80s, 90s, somewhere at the back, little incidents, news, when the Pandits left, Kashmiri Pandits left Kashmir. And then I think the final thing was this last straw of Manmohan Singh. And I thought, okay, I need to think about this deeper. I cannot live in my own little world,
Rape is a very sensitive issue. A victim can only understand what she or he has been through, gone through. And don't you think, in India especially, it has become, it's become a mockery, this rape, the whole rape saga. Like I've noticed, it's like tera rape, tere state ka rape, mere state ka rape, tera wala victim, mere wala victim, मेरा रेपिस्ट तेरा रेपिस्ट, किस स्टेट में इलेक्शंस हैं उसके अकॉर्डिंग इसके ऊपर बात करेंगे, किस कम्युनिटी ने किया है, वो कौन से रिलीजन को बिलोंग करता है, ये सब ज़्यादा हो गया है. यहाँ की रेप एज एन इशू पॉलिटिशियंस सेंसिटिविटी नहीं दिखाते, रेप को एज एन इशू. व्हाट डू यू थिंक अबाउट इट, नंदिनी?
I think, Bahl, it's now in every sphere. It's not only rape, it's crime, it's anything to do with, you take anything, if it's a flood, if it's an earthquake, if it's rape, if it's murder, anything where you have to stand up for people, you start distinguishing, oh, this one deserves our attention and this one doesn't.
But sorry to interrupt, Nandini, but that's I'm not saying rape is not a law and order issue, but these are all you're talking about law and order. But rape is a very sensitive,
of course.
subject, like, the way they're taking, the way they talk about it, they accuse the victim only.
We've become so insensitive to everything, and our people, the people who lead us, are so bound by what sells, what gets, what's the advantage, that they've lost empathy for the general public. So rape is just one more thing for them. Now, if it's an upper class woman, if it's a lower class woman, it's an upper caste person, a lower caste person, if it's a different faith, everything is decided in this secular country on those terms. Yeah, so it makes it even more of a joke, and a very, very tragic joke.
What do you think about it, Shalini?
Yeah, so I think, India is a huge country and there are rapes happening every second, every minute, right? And there are only few that genuinely get picked up and they get,
reported,
they get whatever, for whatever reasons, etc. Highly political reasons also. And I think, like what Nandini said, it's, again, we can't expect empathy from our politicians, genuinely. We can expect them to do the right thing, to follow the law, to whatever, make the right policies, to do good governance. If you're expecting, empathy and, honestly,
sensitivity from them,
it will not. That's human behavior. So I think when you understand human behavior and you understand how few people really care about things that are happening to people outside their absolute inner circle, you don't. Like we get immunized, there was there were a few videos and all. You can't even watch. They're so horrific,
Yeah.
But you skip by, next day is another new day, So clearly, yes, it's all getting politicized. I don't think a rapist, before he rapes, looks at the person's caste or, religion or whatever. It's a question of opportunity and it's a question of a very violent kind of a mindset.
They do target.
So that's a different thing. That's a different, we're talking about rape on a certain whatever.
But they know they'll get protection from the politicians, so
possibly, sure.
Rape is a rape.
So it's
I would think so. I would think so. That they get basically certain people, sections know that they can get away with anything.
And it's happening now, I feel, in Europe.
That's right.
I know people who live there. They say you can call the cops. Nothing. They will just not respond.
You saw this in England, isn't it, in this riot? where those the lady who was protesting, the woman who was protesting about the damage being done, she was carried away. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're literally emptying a lot of the very, very, very violent criminals onto the street.
Yeah.
So that is what I don't understand. We can see it, the world can see it. Are you telling me that they don't know what they're doing? So I think it's a bit of a sinister, kind of something that's happening. But that's another
But people
story
can't
altogether.
see it, Shalini. That's why they come to power. Like they get
Who
voted.
can't see it?
People can't see it because they're voting for the same leaders.
Possibly, brainwashed and
Justification is done. It's been
How
justified.
can you justify something like that?
It's also not your problem.
And so I think that's where it all, which is actually, I think, the only reason to be biased. I know it sounds very cold and all, and an awful thing to say. So the only reason to be biased is on the basis of your self-interest, right? And we all should be. And I think, but a lot of people, I feel, don't understand that what they are actually supporting is very against them. They don't realize that, So because they're, brainwashed enough to think that this is actually pro-life or pro whatever it is that they're doing society. And I think that that's why they're getting away with it. And it starts from now, grassroots, your education. You see what is happening in public schools. You see what's happening on university campuses, So yeah, I think it's
I would
bad.
think that self-preservation is such a human instinct.
You don't think so?
I think it
Yeah,
is.
exactly.
And I'm
Yeah.
so surprised
Yeah.
that people don't see that
Exactly.
it's their lives which are going to be destroyed.
Destroyed.
Exactly.
Because, to look after yourself is such a selfish thing, but we all have that. First me, my family, my home, my territory. And we are somehow missing the point. And I find that very scary. When you lose that instinct.
Like whenever I post something related to riots or anything related to religion, I always, this is my last line, यहाँ सिर्फ मेरा घर ही नहीं है, मेरा घर जलेगा तो तेरा घर भी एक दिन जरूर जलेगा.
That's right.
I always write that. That's my last line of every post.
Yeah.
And people don't realize that. They're not realizing it, or they are like behaving like ostrich. कि ना मेरे को कुछ नहीं होगा, है ना, मेरे को ही कुछ नहीं होगा, जो हो रहा है बाहर ही हो रहा है.
Absolutely.
Okay, Shalini, another thing, इसी से related topic से ही related है. Like do you think Hindus are living in some la la land, illusionary world that all is well, all is well?
No.
Are they aware of what's happening around them?
See, now being aware, I'm not necessarily saying that what we are aware of is 100% correct. I mean, you know what I mean. I think there is a certain change, right? I still think everybody is safe in this country. It may sound a little, idealistic. I don't think Hindus are in danger or minorities are in danger or anybody is in danger. However,
think
there's however, there is a skewed demographics. There is something happening, which is not just happening in India. If it was only happening in India, I said, oh, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm biased. It's clearly happening all over the world, right? You have a certain...
But shouldn't we be scared of that?
I don't know.
Shouldn't we fear that?
I'm not sure fear is the right word.
Waqf
I think
board is
being
an
wary
example of
and
that.
being aware, I think fear is a very negative thing that will make you do the wrong things, maybe.
No, but Waqf board is an example of
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So that's something not to fear. It's something where now we have to make sure the policies are done in such a way or whatever. Again, I know I'm just glossing over. I don't think fear is a right
Or maybe
word.
you're being politically correct.
No, I'm not. I'm rarely politically correct.
I expected a better answer from you.
What do you want me to say? No, I
When the
don't
cameras
think,
are off,
I think
maybe
the
that time you'll give us a better
I
answer
think the
and the right answer.
Hindu is as uncomfortable for me as the Dara Hua Musalman. I don't think either side needs to be Dara Hua.
Really?
Not Dara Hua, not scared. We need to be wary, of course. We need to be assured that what's happening at some point, it is stemmed and reversed, right? There are various ways we can do it with various policies. How can we change? How can we change what's happening, right? We can't say, if you go down to grassroots, it's not like, it's not only in our hands, right? It's in the hands of the policymakers.
Yeah, but that's
can
not
you do
my
something?
question. That's not my question.
No, I don't
My
think we have
question is
anything to
that
fear, not as yet.
Right?
Not fear, I won't use the word fear. But yeah, for example, looking at Kashmir, if that could happen in India, it could happen in any state where you have a certain community coming into majority. So that's something we have to be very wary about. I do agree it's happening. The demographics are getting skewed. Again, self-preservation, whatever, I know it sounds disgusting, but I'm not scared. I'm very, I don't think I'm scared. And I don't think we will change enough. I know it's a very defeatist attitude. I'm not sure if it'll change enough for anything to really change.
Okay, Nandini, do you agree with what all?
I agree in that far where she says that I don't fear. I think we've lived too long in fear. I don't want to come across weak. I don't live in fear at all. I know the problem. I can see the problem. I'd like to confront the problem. And how would I help that? Is by making myself vocal, making myself aware and participating. I can't sit in my house, in my razai and be fearful and wait. I want to be out there and say that I want to do something about this. There is a change in the way we think. There is a new assertiveness, which I like, but I don't want to be the victim. I'm not a victim.
Yeah, I love that. You're not victim.
I will not be a victim.
You're not becharas and
I do not take this ki hum khatre mein hai. Nay, we have now learned how we have been over the past few decades, what we have done. And now is a time to say that, okay, we didn't know enough. We now know we are not khatre mein. We will confront it and handle it.
Yeah, but what my question was that do you think all Hindus think like you? Do you?
No, but a lot more think than they did 10 years ago. I don't think everybody thinks, nobody thinks the same way in such a large country. But there are more people and more people willing to talk about it, which was something which I never even dreamt of, that we would even be sitting and discussing something like
within ourselves. I'm sure there are plenty. However, I think we need to address also the problems within Hindu community, right? What is leading also partly is because there is a certain inherent issue that we have here also, right? And that I think needs to be addressed, and I really don't know how it will be.
I look at it that we have to, this victimhood, which we keep blaming other people of, we tend to fall into it a lot ourselves.
It's a trap, yeah.
Yeah. And I think we're also lazy by nature, that we accepted things as they were, ki aise to hota hi hai. And now what happens is, nothing happens. They are not doing enough. This is not happening. Arey, tum bhi to jago aur bolo kuch. Then only will the government or the people in power will listen to you and do something about it. But if we are going to wait, for things to happen, they will never happen. I think we have to be more participative, more assertive if we want certain things to be done. But I refuse to be a victim. That I am not.
Okay, now another question is, do you think Rahul Gandhi has arrived?
Please, my favorite topic. Once I get started, no, I don't think he's arrived.
No, I don't think he's arrived. I don't think he'll ever arrive. However, he's gone clearly through a complete, let's say, a public image transformation. He's no longer Buddhu and, or Pappu and all. That's pretty much, I think he's come across as rather devious and, whatever. He's not intelligent. However, he's a politician, or not even a very good politician. He's just what he is, So clearly,
he's been fed things in
his
mind.
It's like, I don't know whether you remember in school when we, just scraped through, and then when we got in the next term 10 marks better, it gave us that thing, I think I can do this subject kind of thing. I think that's what's happened to him, is that he feels...
you know what, I think even he knows he can't. I mean, honestly, I think he's propped up or whatever,
I don't know on that. I think he's very delusional.
Usko sikhaya jata, aise lag raha hai as if he's being tutored.
I think he sees it gift wrapped and waiting for him, and just for the taking.
That may be for the entitlement kind of...
Whatever it is. I would hope it never happens. And I don't see it.
But do you think all his debates and all his the sermons he gives, to the whole world about India and this thing. Or he's being tutored to do that. It's been like, सारा लिखा है, उसको याद कर लो, mug up कर लो.
अच्छा, एक तो पहले whole world क्या होता है? तुम
हर जगह तो जा रहा है, internationally going on all those podiums.
You can go to a little side room in a university and you have 50 people there and it's on YouTube and you see it, I see it, and tell me how many whole world people will see it? How many?
I think even if you and I want to go and give a talk, we can do it. It's not like he's being invited and oh my God, and he's such an important
It's being
person
arranged.
or whatever.
It's being arranged. It's being done.
arranged the same, you know.
Well, with a little more.
I mean, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just
I don't take it like it's the whole world watching him. No, yeah.
They're just blasting it on the news. Obviously trying to take as much mileage out of it. But I think, he is doing enough damage.
Oh, yes.
Along
Tremendous
with,
damage.
you know, yeah.
Yeah, like when I interviewed Abhijit, he said, yes, he's being successful with that Khalistani ideology.
Yes.
He's being, he's pandering to the...
Yes. And so when you pander to fringe elements, बहुत पागल हैं, you know, in this world. There are many people who get enamored by all this or just taken in by all this, or he serves a purpose and so they want him. The thing is then, you know, to create the awareness among other people and just let him be a nuisance value rather than do more damage than he can do.
Okay, now what do you think of media, Nandini?
As in?
As in about the journalists, media houses, all these articles being written, Washington Post, New York Times, India Today, all these articles are being, looks like they're all paid articles, they all like, the articles they have some agenda behind it. What do you think about it? Even journalism, look at...
In the last few years, there's been such a reset and we've all started looking at the world very differently. All these people we trusted, believed in, had faith in, we realized it was all a big facade. And media is just another aspect where we've realized there's a legacy media which has something at stake, which has an agenda. And we fell into it, we took it in. But I think, is it the COVID years or what is it? We all had time to think and listen, and it was our life at stake. We started reading. We were not busy with work and rushing here, there, and glancing at the newspaper in the morning while having a coffee. We actually read it cover to cover, those who read papers. And, the news, we had time to watch. I think we all started looking at people a little more suspiciously. At the farmers, at the banks, at our politicians, at the media. And I think we recognized, separated the wheat from the chaff. I think we can see it. And sorry.
It's okay. Please continue.
No. So I just feel that that is just one more pillar that has started crumbling.
Shalini, do you think journalism, basically this whole thing has lost respect in the eyes of people?
Yeah, completely. I totally agree with her, that it's completely compromised. So everything is for sale, right? So that is come as a big, for example, your cops are not really protecting the law. Your judges are not really, imparting justice. Your pharmaceutical companies are not really looking after your health. Your media is not really giving you news. Your education system is not really imparting the correct education, etc., etc. So everything is up for sale. So everything is compromised. So when people say, for example, let's take, what was Mr. Gotchi? What was his name? How can I forget it?
Fauci.
So everybody's like, oh my God, but he's a scientist.
Fauci,
So how can you not believe science? I said, I'm not believing science. I am suspicious of the scientist. He is also a human being. Scientist is also a human being. And if you give a scientist enough money to say something unscientific, he just might do that, So, there are some main, I think, trust issues that we have now with almost every institution. And now watch when AI comes. Now, AI is amazing, let me tell you, especially how it can be used for medical and, all of that. But it can so much, let's say, blur the lines between reality and fiction. You will, when you don't know what to believe, you don't believe anything.
Yes, that's right.
And that's what AI can do. Right now, it's still a baby, what you're seeing. And we're getting, oh, wow, look at what AI is doing. It is just the first baby step that it's taken. So later on, it's going to be very challenging to be able to tell fact from fiction. The lines will get very, very blurred,
Okay, now last but not the least question. How many friends have you lost, like in this whole thing? Friends and relatives, कुछ गुस्सा आपके साथ किसका वो हो गया कि difference of opinion के कारण आपके रिश्ते खत्म हुए हो relatives के साथ और friendships खत्म हुई हो आपके because
Very
you changed.
Very few. Very sad, but some very close relatives, and maybe a close acquaintance. But otherwise, I am so surprised at the change of thinking, at how people are expecting more. There was a time we were very, we accepted everything. We were really like sheep. For so many years, we have been sheep. We were given this, we had Doordarshan, it told us everything is hunky-dory in the world and, we are very fortunate people. Yes, we are poor, but we'll get there. Then you had, we've always been, we had this one to vote for or that one to vote for, but these people got us our independence, so they're special and the rest are all riffraff. So we all went in one direction and we've always been led. I think the biggest thing that I've noticed is the thinking. The people have started beginning to think. And at least that's what I've noticed in my circle. And they might not be great supporters of this government, but there is a process which has started, which allows conversation, which allows debate.
How many people have you influenced?
Many. and they always come back to me and say, I did this because of you. And I say, do you regret it? And they say, no. So that's fine. I'm happy.
And you, Shalini?
I won't say I've lost any friends. I came on the brink of losing maybe one or two, fair enough, we bounced back and everything. I think I'm far too vocal for my own good, possibly, like she said, not very politically correct. So, acquaintances are...
But you've been very politically correct on the show.
I'm trying. Acquaintance, I don't really this, but I know that because I think most of my social circle is more, left-leaning, I can see that sometimes like, she's different, So, yeah, it doesn't bother me at all. Never will.
And I pick my battles. I don't, I don't have to try and influence everybody and convince them. If I see that there is a group of people who I'm sitting amongst and they don't have the same thinking as me or don't believe in the same things or don't look at the world the same way I do, in fact, I love that. I love dissent. I love people who think differently from me. That's how you learn. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
पर फ्रेंडशिप्स में प्रॉब्लम्स तो आई हैं, मेरे भी आई हैं, रिलेटिव्स के साथ आई हैं. इनफैक्ट काफ़ी सारी आई हैं, आइडियोलॉजी के कारण बहुत आई हैं. एंड आई फील टुडे आई हैव रियलाइज दैट मे बी एट दिस स्टेज ऑफ माई लाइफ आई हैव रियलाइज दैट maybe our friendship didn't have any substance in it. So she didn't accept or they didn't accept my ideology, though I respected their ideology. Till the time it was one-sided, and I didn't open my mouth or I didn't object to what they were saying or what they were doing, everything was hunky-dory. The moment I questioned or gave back, like suppose if they said something demeaning about my dharma, if I questioned about their religion, so they were offended.
Right.
So I feel maybe the relationship was not that strong and it didn't have that substance.
Yeah, that's what I said. The liberal left are shockingly illiberal.
And they are the ones who talk about freedom of speech and freedom of expression.
Yeah, absolutely.
The maximum democracy.
That means I should say what I should be allowed to say what I want and all, but you shouldn't. And so that is freedom of speech.
For them,
my freedom of speech.
The people who I probably might disagree with are usually the more privileged and the entitled, who are so happy with the world the way it was, with India the way it was. They don't want any boat to be rocked. And they are
also about, like, I've noticed one thing, people who made a lot of money during previous government thing, they also have that little hatred for this particular government. And I've
So
seen the
is that
hatred.
politics, or is that based on anything else? Because, there's so many different reasons why you can disagree. But what are their reasons? Monetary, commercial?
I mean, the
faith?
present government is as corrupt as the previous one, so I don't think, if you want to make money, then make money, with any
No, but
government.
maybe it was easier there. Like when I interviewed Pallavi, she was saying like, now you can't go to North and South Block like this. Journalists
Walk
can't
in.
just enter and like you just
No,
walk
in fact, it's become, I don't know, from what I hear, I'm not, but it's highly centralized. So,
No, but like they say, like earlier, these things were like the ministers, everywhere accessible to
Yes.
the journalists and to middlemen and everything. So it's become more difficult now. होता तो होगा, end of the day तो भाई हमारे DNA में corruption है.
But not our DNA. Again, that's, I think,
Yeah, I see सबके है.
It's a system. Corruption. Yeah.
It's a system में क्या हम लोग ने इतनी accept करा हुआ है corruption को ना.
Citizens accept corruption if it exists. If it is reduced, you have to learn to accept it too. So I don't think that it's in our DNA. It was the way things were that people were forced to take the shortcuts.
And the UPI thing has helped a lot in
Absolutely.
reducing.
In my line of work, I find that there's been a tremendous change. So I don't look at it that way at all. I think a very positive change. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Shalini and Nandini.
Thank
Very
you, Pai.
politically correct
I lived up to your
friends of mine. अब कैमरा बंद करती हूँ, फिर बात करती हूँ इन दोनों से. Then I'll see the shades. Not at all. इतना तो I know both of you.
That's well. Bring on the wine and the coffee, right?
Yeah. Okay. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.